What is wrong with the Los Angeles Galaxy? That is a question we are going to be answering on today's video. We have a panel full of MLS content creators, full of MLS fans, none of which outright support the LA Galaxy. As usual, guys, joined by a great crew. We got Bob from the Designated Pundits. We got John from Loud and Proud Orlando. We got Davi from the Blue Boroughs Pod, all here with me today to help me figure out what the hell is wrong with this team. The defending champions of Major League Soccer have kicked off 2025 in one of the worst ways possible, have yet to win a game, and have played an expansion team in that side, and just came off fresh off a 3-0 loss to a team that had yet to score a goal in 2025. So again, guys, we'll jump right in. I don't waste any more time here. Let's just answer this question outright, because I don't think anybody's talking about it. Everyone's asking the question of whether or not it's time to panic. I think this early in the season, I have mixed feelings there. But if we can pinpoint from your perspective, guys, what is wrong? Can we pinpoint that? Is it as simple as saying some of their best players from last season are not available, or does it go a little bit deeper? Who wants to reel off first?
Yeah, I'll start here. And I think that, 100% it is time to panic if you're an LA Galaxy fan. This team is not very far away from being the worst team in the Western Conference. And I don't mean in the future. I mean a year and a half ago. Like, that's where they finished in the 2023 season. They were really bad. We call them, on my show, we love calling them a bad collection of good players, because everyone on that team could ball, but together the sum was worse than the parts. Now you take out Riqui Puig, and for all the great that we saw at the end of last season, I think there's a lot of recency bias. People did not like what he was doing at the beginning of the season. They thought he was carrying the ball too much. They thought he was, dancing around when he should have been laying balls off. And as far as missing paint still, yeah, that's a huge piece too. That's a really big part of their offense. But overall, I think the fact that we maybe expected a little hangover to start the season. They are playing extra games in the midseason, and they don't have the parts to put everything together. I think the most telling thing is when you look at this team's budget, when you look at their GAM numbers, they are poor. $0. They've spent it all. So while LA Galaxy, I do think that there are good things coming. I think they can clear up some things in the transfer window this summer. I think for right now, they're stuck with what they got, and what they got isn't really enough to do it. Remember, last season, at the beginning of the season, Paint still was just fresh off AFCON. They were plugging Diego Fagundes in there because he hadn't worked out with the team, and it was working. Now, everything they do, it's not working. They got rid of Brugman, who was the MVP of MLS Cup. It's more than just 1 or 2 stars missing, and I think it's going to take more to dig themselves out of this hole. Christian Ramirez was great with the crew. I'm not convinced that he can do it on any squad in Major League Soccer, and that's kind of what we're seeing right now.
Isn't that crazy that Ramirez was so highly regarded with the crew? And maybe that's the Nancy effect. Who really knows? But I thought he was a good fit when they signed him. I thought it was a decent signing. I still think you needed a different type of profile up there to offer pace, runs in behind the back line, just things that Ramirez doesn't do very well, frankly, because of his size, his lack of speed, things like that. But I think you hit it right on the nose, Bob. I think the fact that they can't go out and actually try and change this in any way, shape, or form. They've made some recent short-term signings. And again, these are more like academy level players, MLS next level players that they're trying to bring in to just shake some things up. Greg Vanney looking for lifeline, it seems, from my perspective. Is this going to be enough? Is this anywhere close to a saving grace for LA Galaxy fans?
Well, I feel like there's a lot of possession from them, but just not a lot of substance. And I think to have 70% possession with 23 shots and 8 of those only on target, it's just not enough there. And I think without Riqui Puig, is you can keep the ball all you want, but there's just too much passing and not enough quality chances. So 776 passes last game versus 311 for St. Louis. So it proves that you can have the ball all you want, but if you're just too much possession back and forth and you don't have the guys right now to game change and be the ones to break those lines with that kind of possession play, then you just end up passing the ball around a bunch and not really doing much with it.
But isn't that crazy to say? Okay, think about this midfield outside of Riqui Puig, right? It's looking more and more like he was the glue holding this thing all together. But then if that's the case, what the hell was the point of signing Marco Reus?
Nothing. That's part of the problem. You can't spend that much money on a player who's going to come to Major League Soccer and be a bust. You could ask their friends down in LAFC what that's like, having someone on the payroll who's contributed absolutely nothing since he's been there. If I'm Marco Reus, if I'm his agent, if I am anyone associated with Marco Reus, I'm saying, hey, Ricky Puig went down, man. Like, this is your chance. You don't need to be a strike. You could be the 10. You could be the distributor. Get your workouts in this off season, come to camp a new man. And I didn't give him that pep talk, and this is what happened. If I was in the locker room, maybe we'd have a different result. I don't know.
Yeah, no, I mean, I honestly, man, like I don't know what the point of it was, because I don't know what he offers to this team right now. Realistically, I don't know what they were hoping he would bring, if he would be someone to creatively unlock defenses, especially when they sit a little bit more in a mid or a low block. I don't know if they thought, hey, you know what, just his experience in Europe is going to be enough to take this talented side over the top again, especially with all these competitions they have to worry about this season. But bro, it's nowhere near enough. And like, I don't know. I feel like the perfect moment to summarize, I think, what Reus is or has been for this LA Galaxy team so far is this one here. I saw Twelman tweet this out, and I think that this is like a perfect example. You watch him on this play, and the guy's just standing, bro. He's standing, doing nothing. He's just sitting there, not marking a man, not trying to get involved in the play, and boom, right? One of the scrappiest goals in that 3-0 loss, and he's sitting back idly by. I just don't understand what his mentality is, what he thought MLS was going to be, but it's clearly not working from my perspective. And so at that point, who do we lean on? Is it Fagundes, who I think, again, is maybe more of a depth piece? Is it going to be Marky Delgado, Cerrillo stepping up? Like, what has to happen? Because Ricky Puig will not be back until August minimum. And so I don't know, man. I agree with Bob. I think it's probably time to panic. I hate saying this 3 games into a long 30+ match season, but bro, especially if they don't even look competitive against Portland this coming week, we will talk about that on the channel pretty soon. I don't know where the Galaxy fan base goes from here. Tonight, as we record this, they're going to be going up against that Costa Rican side, Herediano, in that second leg of the CONCACAF Champions Cup, which we already know MLS teams have somewhat of a, I guess you could say, a disadvantage, right? We're playing at the beginning of our season versus other teams being, in great form, to an extent. They've already been playing several matches. And so there's always that argument as to how much weight you put into Triple C. But I think from the Galaxy fans' perspective, if they drop both these coming games, both today and the one at the weekend, panic is not even a strong enough word, I don't think. Am I over-exaggerating there?
No.
Well, if you say that play that you showed us of Marco Reus not blocking anyone, and I tried to think maybe it was zone, so I'm like, maybe it's a zone play. There was no one standing behind him. There's not a single player over his back. So awful. If that is a summary of him, Marco Reus, I think the perfect summary of this team right now would have been Garces coming over the top of Yoshi to try to give him both concussions. Like, it's really, really bad. And I don't want to panic. I don't want to overcompensate, overstate the issue here. But on a team that was good for the last 6 years, okay, maybe they'll straighten it out. This team was very bad 13 months ago. Very bad.
Now, different pieces. Chicharito was still there. They didn't have, of course, the likes of Gabriel Peck, Paintel. Obviously, Joveljic was there last season, and maybe he's the missing piece up top. I feel like he is to an extent. Ricky Puig seems to be the common denominator, but I think it's, for whatever reason, dude, this team is not even drunk. They're hungover, like beyond hungover. And I don't know how they snap themselves out of it. I mean, you look at this, you look at this, this side that stacked up against St. Louis, right? Who's gonna step up? Like, who will it be? And I'm not looking at any of these guys in the front three, because I don't think it's gonna be Iber Ramirez. I really don't think it's gonna be Fagundes. Peck is on an island basically by himself. If I'm playing against the Galaxy as the manager, I'm just honing in on Gabriel Peck because no one else is really a threat to me. I don't think so. I don't even know how the hell Marco Reus got a 7.2. Like, the stat merchants will probably torch me alive for the criticism I've given Marco Reus so far based on this. But at the end of the day, this whole team just doesn't, shaky's not even the right word. They just don't look good. They just really don't. I don't know where the solution comes from. So that begs the next question, right? How do you fix this? Like, how should Greg Vanney approach this? What adjustments could he make? Could he experiment in a very radical way to bring the Galaxy back to life, to resuscitate this team? Because frankly, like, the fans deserve more than this as the defending champions. They do. And that even is heavy-handed to say because they're probably the most spoiled fan base in Major League Soccer. But at the end of the day, right, like, I think the fans probably can't even. I bet the MLS Cup seems like it was so long ago. Right? Like them hoisting that trophy such a long time ago. It feels that way simply because of what we've seen up to this point in 2025. So any thoughts here, guys? How do the Galaxy fix this?
Bring Zonka in, move to a 3-man back line, let Yamane play wing, don't give him any defensive responsibilities. Maybe play him as an inverted winger, let him toss into midfield. And, on the left side, John Nelson or Aude, let him run up and down the field. Maybe since you're missing a winger, throw Peck up top with Ramirez and see if they get a little something going. I just play a lot of FIFA. That's what I would do.
Hey, that's fair, bro. That's fair. I don't know where in this solution Marco Reus fits in. I really don't. I don't know if you need to put him in that front three line, maybe. And maybe he tucks in as a winger to be a little more inverted to get central and see if he could maybe distribute, be the guy that Galaxy thought that he was going to be when they signed him. The 2 striker setup I think is really interesting to me. But
is Greg Vanney a guy to do that? I mean, Greg Vanney's run the same 4-3-3 since we've seen him in Toronto. I could tell you exactly last year when they got Painstill and Peck, I'm like, oh, there we go. MLS Cup contender. He's got his wingers. That's exactly what he wants. He needs a number 10 and a couple wingers. Everyone else is just a piece. I'm not sure he has the tactical flexibility to do what this team's going to need right now. I think that he might just have to, hold on until the summer transfer window.
Yeah. Oh, man, this is crazy. I'm kind of curious, guys. What's our prediction, maybe all the way around? Where do we think Galaxy will be in the table by the time the summer window gets here?
Like, I still think they're going to get some wins. Like, obviously, it started terribly, but this is a team that won MLS Cup last year, right? And they're missing some pieces, of course, but let's not forget that most of this team did lift that trophy last year. So there's going to be some redemption. I still think they're going to be nowhere near the top, but definitely not. I'm saying like 8th, 9th, trying to get into that playoffs, around the summertime based on what we've seen so far. They're going to have some improvement. I don't think it's going to be, 4 losses like this kind of form continuous for them, but it has started pretty badly and they got to dig themselves out of a hole with no budget and probably, like Bob said, these youth guys, like that's all you can do really is hope the youth is going to come through and your squad guys are going to figure out how do they performed like last year. Cause right now they're performing like, bad squad guys, not good squad guys.
These are their next 6 matchups in MLS. How many points do they get?
I think they can nick some points off of Portland and Salt Lake. That it'll be tough against Portland, but they're not in a good run of form right now, are they? And
that's the thing. I don't think it should be tough. Like I think maybe I've been critical of Portland this season, and maybe I just have this idea that without Evander, this is actually one of the more. I know Da Costa was the key signing this season, and like fans are supposed to feel really good about him, but I don't think he tremendously levels up this team, at least not yet. And I think back to Portland playing Nashville, and I'm just like, what am I watching here? You know what I mean?
I don't like Neville. I think Neville might be holding them back a bit.
Yeah, maybe. But then again, right? If they drop points, even on the road, we know again how MLS teams always perform at home and on the road's a little bit tricky. But if they can't rally themselves and get something out of Portland, I don't think Minnesota is going to be easy. I don't think Orlando is going to be easy. Even Salt Lake, right? At home, right? With the altitude, I don't think that'll be an easy game for them. Houston is kind of reeling right now at the same time, but in 4 weeks' time, defensively, maybe they figure out some things, and that could be again a full max points game for them. And they have Austin at the Q2, where they lost last season with a full squad, including Ricky Puig. So I don't know. I really don't know how many points they take. I would say, based on what I'm seeing now, 5 points, 4 to 5 points.
I think they beat Portland. I think they walk all over Orlando. They get destroyed by Minnesota. That game could be 6-1. RSL is going to be tricky. Houston, that's going to be the most boring game of that match day. I could call it right now. There's no offense, nothing going on. Ponce's looked awful. So I could see him getting 9 points. I don't see them being like a draw on the road kind of hardy team. Like I could see them getting rolled over in a bunch of those matches, but I could see them taking, and this is a team that, again, last season, they lost 0 games at home, 0 home games. They've already lost 2 this year. That's going to straighten out just by positive regression. If you played those 2 games over again, they're going to get a result in one of them.
I'm not inspired at all by what I've seen so far. I agree with what John said 100%. It's possession for possession's sake.
Yep.
Like, yeah, you could dominate the ball, but if you don't have, and if you're double teaming Peck, I just don't know where the goals come from. That's my only thing. Even against Portland, I think this weekend will be very telling with match day 4 as to what type of Galaxy adjustments and mentality we'll see with this team moving forward between now and, let's say, mid-April or late April. And then from there, right, we're just a month and a half or so out from the window. So, or a couple months out from the window. And look, man, if they don't get anywhere near what you're saying, Bob, those 8, 9, maybe 10 points in these games, I don't know, man. Panic's not even a strong enough word at that point. Davi, kind of curious, man. You told me in kind of those DMs, right, that it's almost insane looking at this team and kind of what they've become. What's your prediction here for how many points they probably get out of this?
Probably 6 to 9 if they could.
You guys are very optimistic. I'm not gonna lie. You guys are very optimistic. No bullshit. Like I don't know, man. I feel
they're playing the teams in the lower echelon of the West here, right? Like you're playing some teams you can get some points against. Portland, Houston, Salt Lake. Like these are guys that's not started very well, in my opinion. So I feel like there are
St. Louis.
They could be up against the best of the West. I genuinely think they're going to start picking up some points. It's going to happen.
Maybe, man. But again, you literally gave St. Louis their first ever goal to kick off 2025. The draw kings, right, of the Western Conference. They look like fucking prime Barcelona out there. Just having fun, bagging goals against the defending champions. I just don't know. And this is, again, I know St. Louis looks a little bit better this season. Maybe, at least that's what a lot of the fans are saying. A lot of the creators out there are saying that, preseason ranking, St. Louis was supposed to be better, much better in 2025 based on who they signed in the previous window last season. And it's still kind of the same for me. And Galaxy were no match for them. So I don't know, man. Maybe I'm reading too much into one game. That could just be me. But I think we'll definitely see. Like I said, for me, it's maybe 5 points.
I think they could possibly get more if they're out of the Champions Cup tonight. Depends. But I mean, Paintsel comes around that time period, right?
Because Painsel's out for 6 weeks. He was 2 months, right? Was he out for 2 months?
It's like a month and a half, 6 weeks, I think. 8. Yeah. It could be up to 8, 6 to 8. So something like that. But I think once Paintsel comes back, they'll start to get the points for sure.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know, man. We'll see. And from there, it only gets tougher, right? They play Portland again. They have Kansas City, which that should be a dub, even if it's away. That team literally cannot beat anybody. Red Bulls, Philadelphia, LAFC, San Diego. Like that stretch of matches is going to be super crucial and very tough for the Galaxy if they can't figure it out. All right, guys, look, I think we've definitely kind of picked it apart enough. But guys, let us know in the comments down below how you feel, especially Galaxy fans. Really, really curious. I think most Galaxy fans are choosing to be patient, are choosing to be optimistic, right? We're only a few games into the season. But I think the alarm bells have been ringing for more than a few of them. Really curious, guys, to see how you feel about this. Let us know in the comments down below. If you feel like I'm faded with my take, that I'm just being over-exaggerative, please describe to me how, because I don't see any sort of inspiration from this team yet so far.